Hi, Team Persevere. Today we are continuing our work with our personal artifact Google Slides presentation. Last week, we continued our work focusing on our identity, which is who we are, your interests, likes, dislikes, beliefs, and values. And you were picking out artifacts, personal artifacts that show your identity, that really display who you are as a person. And then completing the questions on the Google slide. Today, you will be choosing your final artifact and completing the Google slide for that artifact number 5. After you finish your 5th artifact slide, I want you to reflect on all 5 of your slides. And I want you to keep the following items in mind. The first bullet point. Do you have enough details on each slide? You should have at least 3 well-written sentences in each box. So as you're looking through your slides, if you notice you don't have enough details on each slide and you don't have 3 well-written sentences in each box, you'll need to add some detail and some sentences to those boxes. You'll also be rereading to see if your writing makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense to you, you'll have to make some changes. And lastly, are there any errors in cups? And as a friendly reminder, we use cups to help us edit our writing. The word cups is an acronym. So each letter in the word cups stands for a certain thing we need to do or look for in our writing. So in cups, the C stands for capitalization. You are looking if there for any errors in capitalization. So that means that we need to capitalize the first word in each sentence, titles, and proper nouns. The U in the word cup stands for understanding. Read each sentence aloud to check if it makes sense. The P in the word cup stands for punctuation. So at the end of your sentences, do they have periods or question marks? Do you need to put in any commas or quotation marks? And lastly, the S in the word cups stands for spelling. Check the spelling of words using a dictionary. I am now going to show you 2 different examples of an artifact that I chose about myself. And the artifact I chose was my finisher's medal from running my half marathon. And I'm also actually wearing my shirt that I got from the half marathon. So this half marathon is really special to me, and it was something that I worked really hard on. So the medal means a lot to me because it was kind of a sign of my accomplishment of running 13.1 miles. I'm going to show you 2 examples of slides. And as we're reading through the example, at the end after I finish discussing the example and reading it to you, you are going to have the opportunity to tell us, is this a good example or does it need some work? And if you say it's a good example, you need to support your reasoning and say why it is a good example. And if it is not a good example of a slide, you need to support your reasoning by telling why it's not a good example and what needs to change. So here's my first example. On the left is the picture of my finisher's medal. And in the first box on the right, for describing the artifact, I wrote, "This is a medal. I got it when I ran a race. It is blue with writing on it." For the box about why I chose the artifact, it shows I like running, work hard. At this time, I want you to reflect and think, is this a good example of an artifact slide? And then support your reasoning. Write all of this in the chat, please. At this time, please pause the video. During your discussion, we talked about the importance of adding more details to our writing so that the reader can clearly understand the artifact. And in this example, there needs to be more detail. There are incomplete sentences, errors in capitalization, errors in understanding things that don't make sense. and even a spelling error. So some changes need to be made. Now I'm going to show you a second example of an artifact slide, and we are going to do the same thing. You will need to support your reasoning and think, is this a good artifact example or not? So same artifact, my finisher's medal. Describe the artifact. My fifth artifact is the medal I received after finishing the Milwaukee Brewers mini marathon in September 2019. At the bottom, there is a heavy circular metal piece with the Brewers logo and the name of the race. On the soft part around the neck are gold running shoes with the date, city, and title of the race written in white. Why did you choose this artifact? I chose this medal because running is my favorite hobby and a big part of my identity. I enjoy running because it helps me stay healthy. Running 13.1 miles is not easy. I trained for over 4 months. This medal shows that I am a hard worker and that when I set goals for myself, I put a lot of effort into achieving them. At this time, I would like you to reflect, is this a good example of an artifact slide or not a good example? And support your reasoning with answering why. Please pause the video to discuss. Oops. So as we just talked about, this is an example of a very good artifact slide. There are lots of details in each box and complete sentences. I spent time rereading my work, checking for errors in capitalization, understanding, punctuation, and spelling. Today, you are going to be looking back at all 5 of your slides and doing the same exercise that we just did. Looking at each slide and thinking, is this a good example, or do I need to make some changes to make this even better? After you are done with your 5 artifact slides, it's time to continue our work with our stamina practice. So it's a time for you to free read and push yourself to read for a little longer than you did last week. So look at your stamina sheet, and if you read for 20 minutes last week, push yourself to read for 22 today. Use your identity to help you choose a book to read today. So again, thinking about your interests. What do you enjoy learning about? The characters you connect with, or certain types of books that you really enjoy. And after you're done reading, make sure you record on your stamina chart. And we're continuing to think about this question. I'm a reader who enjoys, and filling in that blank with your book interests. So again, today, after you finish all 5 of your artifact slides and you go back to make some improvements, then you're doing some reading stamina practice and filling it in on your stamina chart. And all of this will be done after your small group meeting today. Let your teachers know if you have any questions. Thank you, Team Persevere.